All right, I want to start off with saying Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Yahweh, which is the name of the Most High, Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And I just wanted to do a chapter breakdown. Today's chapter is going to be the book of 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter. And this is basically going into, pretty much the whole chapter. Okay. And really what the chapter is dealing with primarily is it's talking about, marriage. Okay. Let me just pull it up real quick. All right. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. And of course, we'll start at the first verse. It says, "Now as concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband." Right, and what that's saying is the apostle is elaborating and saying that, if you can, be as him, right? And Apostle Paul, he wasn't married, right? Apostle Paul didn't have a wife. Okay, so he's saying it is good for a man, if he, can withstand himself in marriage, right, to not partake in marriage. But if you do, then that's cool, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, because Paul, in this chapter, Paul is giving his advice on a majority of what he's speaking of, right? Some things he's saying, thus saith the Lord on. The other things he's speaking, as a man, right? Giving his advice on how, he, would handle the situation. Okay, and you'll see that as we read on here. Verse 3, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife have no power over her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband have no power over his own body, but the wife. Defraud not ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your inconstancy. Excuse me for my mispronouncing of the last word there. And basically what that's saying is that, if you're married, right, you can't withhold your other, the person you're married with, you can't withhold, sexual activities from them. Okay, you have to engage in sexual activities with your partner. You can't withhold that, right? A man can't, withhold, sex from his wife, and the wife also cannot do so to the husband. All right? That's according to the scriptures, that's the way it has to be. Okay, if your wife, needs to do that activity, well, then you have to do it, right? Likewise, you as well, right? If you want to, then the wife has to. Okay, that's what it's speaking about here. Unless you consent for a time, right? So if you both agree to not do it for a certain, amount of time, say a week or two, for whatever reason, then that's all right then. Okay, because you agreed, you both agreed to withhold from that activity for, say, a week or two. Okay, so in that instance, it would be considered to be all right, because you both agreed to it. Let's just see. It says, verse 6, it says, "But I speak this by permission and not of commandment." Right. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier about how Paul is speaking primarily, how from himself. He's not saying, "Thus says the Lord." He's just saying, this is my advice, on this matter. Right. So Paul is just giving his advice on how he sees, this matter. Okay. In certain parts, it's, commandment for the Most High. But in certain parts, it's just Paul giving his, opinion on the matter, right, and his fault on the topic of discussion. Verse 7 says, "For I would that all men were even as myself, but every man have his proper gift of Yahweh, one after this manner and another after that." Right, so he's saying that, if it were possible, every man should be as Paul. But you know what? He's just saying that, it's not, that's just a lot that I have, right? Because I mean Paul, right? Paul, excuse me. Paul wasn't married. Okay, Paul didn't have a wife, right? So he was saying, it's good if a man doesn't, touch a woman. As we went back to the what is it, the first chapter? I mean, the first verse of the seventh chapter. Excuse my stutter. But yeah, it's clear and simple what this is talking about, right? Because Christians be on there trying to butcher it, 6 ways to Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Just like the Christian church does with all doctrine. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. It says, verse 8, I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I, but if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. Right, so it's better to, have another person to engage in sexual activities with than to, to burn. And that's talking about sexually burn, okay? That's not talking about, burning in hell is what these Christians teach. That's not what it's talking about. Because guys will read that verse and they'll say that's talking about, burning in hell. That's not what that's talking about. That's ridiculous to say that. That's not true. That's not what it's talking about. And you can read it, just read the context, and you'll see that's what it's saying, right? It's talking about sexual lust, right, of burning. Let me see. And I hope this the wind in the background is not messing with the audio of the video, because it is decently windy out today. So I'm hoping everything is going to be running smoothly. So excuse me, if it is a little choppy, I apologize about that. Anyway, it says, as I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is better for them if they abide even as I, but if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord, let not the wife depart from her husband, and if she depart, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. Right. So you're not supposed to marry and then divorce, right? Moses let people do that back then, but that wasn't the Lord's that wasn't what the Most High wanted. Okay, the Lord didn't want a man to deal with a woman for a number of years and then put her away, right? But they allowed it simply because of how men were behaving back in those times. Okay, but the Lord didn't want that to happen, right? But of course today it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So of course there's certain things in the law that we can't perfectly keep in this time period that we're in, but we got to do the best of your ability. Okay, to the best of your ability, you follow the commandments, right? Which of course you're not going to be perfect, okay, but you got to do what you can in the time that we're in now. Okay, so hey, if your wife wants to leave, then hey, let her leave. Okay, and especially the time we're in right now, man. Okay, some brothers are going to lose their woman. Okay, because really, according to the scriptures, marriage is sexual intercourse. So if you have a girlfriend and she's not your wife, right, legally, so-called legally, your wife, well, then guess what? That's still your woman, because you're dealing with that woman, right? You're sleeping with that woman. So that's considered to be your wife according to the scriptures, right? You see, this whole marriage concept, this is a fabrication of, 19th century, right? They made this up pretty much within the last, 100, maybe 200 years, right? They have to, go before a church pastor, buy a $10,000 ring, you have a, a $60,000 wedding. That's all bullshit, man. That's not in line with the scriptures. And just like the whole dating stuff, I see, I go on to, what is that? The Bible app, right? The Bible app I have on my phone, and I see it once in a while. They have a text on there, and it says, what does the Bible, give, advice about, dating, right? What does the Bible say about dating? What advice does the Bible give about dating? And, of course, they cherry pick a couple verses to throw in there. But the truth is, dating's not in the Bible, because dating is a modern concept of the modern world. Okay, but this didn't exist in the past, right? The Bible is, certain parts are, older than others, of course, but the Bible was written over the course of a few thousand years, right? And it was all put together, it was all put together, okay? But it spans over the course of the history of the world. Okay, so the point is, you're not going to see this, term dating in the scriptures, because that's not how things were done back then. You either had an arranged marriage, or sometimes you had something called bride kidnapping, right, where a man, forced a woman to be his wife. Look that up on Wikipedia, right? And hey, GMS will mention that, and guys get on them. But all they did is mention the facts, right? Nobody's saying to go do that today. Well, they just mentioned the facts, right? The facts are the facts. You know what I'm saying? But if one can't get it, then they can't get it. It's very simple. Let me see. Verse 12, it says, "But to the rest speak I, not the Lord. If any brother have a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. And the woman which have an husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by his wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy. But if the everlasting, or slakia, but if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases, but Yahweh hath called us to peace. For what knowest thou, O wife, whether thou shalt save thy husband? Or how knowest thou, O man, whether thou shalt save thy wife?" Right, so what that's talking about is, if you have a wife, or whoever you're dealing with, right, your girlfriend, they call them today, if they don't believe and you believe, well, the scriptures say you can dwell with them, right? You can dwell with them, you can live with them, and they'll be saved through you. Okay, the unbeliever can be saved by you. Okay, if you're a man of the Lord, then they'll receive salvation through you. Okay, so and this cuts these guys. I believe it was LUIC was saying that you can't marry a unbeliever, or you can't deal with an unbeliever. I believe they were saying that you gotta get up and leave, or you gotta get up and leave her ass. And I believe it was them. I could be mistaken, but there was a group out there saying that you can't be with an unbeliever. Well, your guys are cut, man. You guys are cut, because we just read in the scriptures that it's okay to live with a unbeliever. It's okay to be in a sexual relationship with a unbeliever. According to the Bible, it says that. Right? Maybe not according to Nate, right? But according to the scriptures, that's what it says. Let's see. Which I'm going to skip a few verses here, because that's going into a different topic. That's going into the circumcision. Okay, and you can read, what is that, verse 17 to verse 24. You can read that on your own, right? Because that's a different topic right there. That's going into circumcision. I just want to basically stick on the whole marriage, because that's primarily what the chapter is about. Verse 25, "Now concerning virgins, I have no commandment of the Lord, yet I give my judgment, as one that have obtained mercy of the Lord, to be faithful. I suppose, therefore, that this is good for the present distress. I say that it is good for a man so to be. Art thou bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loosed. Art thou loosed from a wife? Seek not a wife. And if thou marry, thou hast not sinned. And if a virgin marry, she have not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you." Right. So, especially in the time that you're in right now, man, I should say that we're in, you're going to have trouble in the flesh, man. Okay, because, in this time now, man, if you do something wrong, your woman can leave you. And if you have children, man, when you're tied with that woman, you have to, provide for, the children. Okay, it's just, everything's messed up right now, man, under this damn devil, so-called white man, right, Esau. Everything is messed up right now. Okay, but yeah, you're going to have some trouble, man. Okay, there comes trouble with relationships, man. Okay, and man, it's better to to not be in a relationship. Okay, it's better if you're single, as they say, right? It's better to be single. But with that being said, that doesn't mean that it's a sin to be in a relationship. If you have a girl that wants to be with you, man, and that's cool, go along with that. That's cool. All right, there's nothing wrong with being in a relationship. Paul's just giving caution on, saying, hey, you're going to have some problems, man. And it doesn't matter how good a relationship is when it starts. Eventually, you'll, have some, to be bumpy road, so to speak. All right, there'll definitely be some type of arguments, in the near future, man. You know what I'm saying? So, just got to think twice about it. Anyway, verse 29, it says, "But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had not, and they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passes away." Right, and that's self-explanatory. Okay, that's self-explanatory what he's talking about there. Verse 32, it says, "But I would have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belongeth to the Lord, how he might please the Lord. But he that is married cares for the things of this world, how he might please his wife. There is a difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman careth for the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she that is married careth for the things," we turn the page, "of the world, how she might please her husband." Right, so what that's basically talking about is, again, it's not saying you're wicked if you're in a relationship with somebody, just saying that, you have to take time, out of your day to nourish that relationship, right? You got to spend time with your woman, right? Your children, you have to, spend money on them, especially in this time, man. Man, hey, there's many guys, man. This tells you in the Apocrypha, it says that many men have, they put themselves in the hole for a woman, man. Right? They put themselves in a financial strain, just so they could chase after a woman, man. And there's also another one where there was 3 young men. They both gave all 3 of them gave their speech to the king, and the thing was that whoever had the wisest speech, they would be called a nephew of the king, right? They would sit upon a throne and be giving riches. Whoever gave the best, what's the word I'm looking for? Damn, I just said it and I can't remember it now. The best speech, so to speak. Okay, one of them spoke about the king, one of them spoke about wine, and the other one spoke about woman. Okay, and you can read that yourself. I'm not sure where that's at, but that's in the Apocrypha. Okay, you can read about that. So it says what? That many men have went out of their way, just to take care of a woman, man. Anyway, 35, it says, "And this I speak for your own profit, not that I might cast a snare upon you, but for that which is comely, and that ye may attend upon the Lord without distraction. But if any man thinks that he behaves himself uncomely towards his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age, and need so require, let him do what he will, he sinneth not, let them marry." Right, and that's talking about that, you can marry your daughter off as soon as, she hits sexual maturity, man, which is like, 12, 14 years old. That's just what was going on, man. A lot of guys get, messed up about that verse, but it says what it says, man. Like, I went on with the Zakari and I asked him a question about that, because they say that's talking about, when she's 20 years old. That's not talking about that, man. If you go to, what is that, Leviticus 20 and, what is that, Leviticus 20 and, excuse me, Leviticus 15 and 24. Yeah, Leviticus 15:24, you can read that. It uses the exact same word in the text. Okay, so you can see the context that it's speaking about. You can see what it's saying. Okay, so this verse is self-explanatory. Okay, it's saying that you can marry, when you are, when you're young. All right, that's what it's talking about. Right, the flower of her age is talking about when a female gets her first menstrual cycle. According to the Bible, that's what it is. And you can look that up on Wikipedia. That's also what they teach. Verse 37, it says, "Nevertheless, he that steadfast in his heart, having no necessity, but have power over his own will, and have so decreed in his heart that he will keep his virgin, does well, so that he that giveth her in marriage does well, but he that giveth her not in marriage, he does better." Right? So that's saying what? That a father, be better to, to wait, to give your daughter away, to to another man. Okay, it'd be better to wait a little while, but hey, there's not a sin if you give her, you give her up, just when she, becomes a woman, right? You can do that. It might be profitable and better to let her wait a little while, like another, year, 2 years, 3 years, might be better, so she can get more knowledge on how to be a wife. But there's no sin if you marry her off earlier. That's what it's saying. Okay, let's see, a couple more verses. It says, the wife is bound by the law as long as her husband liveth. But if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Lord. But she is happier if she so abide after my judgment, and I think also that I have the spirit of Yahweh. Right, so it's saying that what? That the woman is bound by the husband. Okay, that the woman has to, be bound by her husband, right? Have to live by his rules. And that's how messed up everything is right now, man. Okay, because in the world right now, it's considered, manly to hold the door for a woman. But really, it's supposed to be the other way around, right? A woman is actually supposed to hold the door for a man, because the word woman means servant. Look that up. Okay, because the Lord made woman to be a helper unto the man. Okay, but if you go to, what is that, Jeremiah, I want to say Jeremiah, the 31st chapter, it says what? That the Lord created a new thing in the earth. A woman will compass a man. Right, and that's what's going on right now, man. Right, women are uplifted above men in this society, especially here in Babylon the Great, aka America. Okay, this is why America in the scriptures is referred to as a whore. Right, the great harlot, which that's talking about America. That's not talking about the Vatican City or Jerusalem. Yeah, peons out there, man. Like that one cat, he was on there saying, well, it says it's a city, so how could it be America? Guy don't know what the hell he's talking about, man. Yeah, that's pretty much the chapter, man. I hit all the points I wanted to address. Okay, so pretty much, man, I hope that video was edifying. All right, Paul, was just giving his his advice on marriage. Okay, so that could have been helpful, for some brothers out there who are getting into relationships right now, or just good advice to know in general, man. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna of course end off by saying, of course, all praise to Yahweh and Son Yahweh Shai. I hope that video is edifying. If anybody made it this far into the video, put hashtag marriage in the comment section down below. That's hashtag marriage. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to say shalom.